Do you think being diasporic is a disadvantage?
I guess it just depends on what you are looking for in your life.
Yeah.
When it comes to being raised, if you think an advantage is knowing about your culture and speaking the language and living that life, then yes. But if you think that being in a place with Western opportunities and having a Western education and having more opportunities is the advantage, then no.
No, I mean no, in the sense that we have been we have had the advantage of coming to New Zealand, learning about a different culture, coming our parents came here for a better life, but they wouldn't have known that had New Zealand come to Samoa. A lot of those early settlers to Samoa, the Samoan people would have learnt a lot. They would have, of course, they were colonised in a sense, with the way that we had to dress from the Balinese. Christianity is one thing that I would say has been from Diaspora. It's kind of like colonised, but then we've learnt from these people that are not Samoan. And so coming to New Zealand, there's been so many of us that have migrated here because of the great diaspora, coming to New Zealand, going to Australia, Samoans in America. So that has been an advantage, but I think in a way disadvantaged if I think globalization and many of our Samoans who have migrated here, their children's children, there have been many of us that have lost the language, and many of us that have become westernized.
I feel like it's a wonderful thing being diasporic because we hold our culture so strong.
Yeah.
Because it's so embedded within us. I think it's a good thing for us, Samoans living in different countries, because then we get to be ambassadors of our culture.
What does it mean to be Samoan in New Zealand?
It means that you have an obligation to walk in different roads, but I guess that's if you're any culture, not just Samoan. There is an expectation that you know about your culture, but to be Samoan in New Zealand actually really means that you are part of the largest Pacific demographic in New Zealand. So out of all the Pacific nations, we have the highest population. How they say, all tūmau wanga, it's the way you stand, it's the way you respect people, it's the way you act in certain places.
For me personally, I grew up right from when I was born till I was 5. I didn't speak English. I spoke Samoan. So my dad was like, fa Samoa. And then I think I would have been one of those colonized children because then you went to school and then it was just all English from there. Now my parents speak Samoan to me, but I speak English. The only time I've spoken Samoan, and I think that's why I've been able to still speak the languages, whālualo or makua, like my grandparents. I've always spoken Samoan to my grandmother, my grandfather. I've never spoken English, and I think that's why I've kept my Samoa. I think it's important to acknowledge that you will always be Samoan. Even if you don't know the language, I think it's important that we still uphold and acknowledge that we come from Samoa.
I think that's one of the things that colonization, like, one of the mindsets that are brought with it is the whole individuality thing. Every man for themselves. Like, one head of the family, he takes care of his own. He earns his money, takes care of his own family. That's it. But within our culture, it's like everyone works together for the better of our people.
What does culture mean to you?
Culture is several things. It's something that you practice. It's also something that defines what you do and why you do it. That you either inherit or you create.
Culture is everything. If we don't have culture, but yet I'm hala and brown. When I was in Japan, I felt proud. I was from New Zealand, but I was Samoan New Zealand, and I was able to educate them on. So culture means everything to me. Still proud that our Samoa is still intact. I still appreciate I'm from Savaii, and I appreciate, Savaii is the untouched, and the culture's still alive, so it's important. The goal is for us working here is for these places to not ever exist anymore, Māori Pacific spaces, because the hope is that every single school in the university will know how our Māori Pacific students learn. They'll know what they need. They are a safe space for our students. They feel safe to hang out, feel safe to ask, lecturers, tutors, can I have an extension? Because, my father's or, family, whalawalaves. Once every single person in this university understands our cultures, we won't need any of this. Being in these kind of environments, we're so proud to be Māori, we're so proud to be Pasifika, there's still a lot of people that just have no idea about culture. And I'm talking to, students, lecturers, academics, but the hope is that people will understand and embrace our cultures, not just Māori Pacific, but even the Asian cultures, Middle Eastern. Yeah, I speak pretty fluent Maori. Yeah, I'm pretty fluent Japanese, kind of. I'm really proud that I still speak Samoan. I'm not saying if our people can't speak it, it's not a bad thing. The one thing I hope is that they don't turn away from our culture. But see, like I have a malu and I have a makai name. I've just started to use it because my friend was like, Jenny, you need to be proud of your makai name, like you represent. It's from Satbaitia, and I don't show my mother a lot. The reason why we did it, my grandmother passed away, and we realised that none of my mother's side and the female generation, nobody has ever had a malu. Yeah, so I got the malu with my other cousin, and we got it at the same time as my brother when he got his bear. So we were the soa, we paired together, and it was a real. Lots of people have different reasons why they get malus. It's a challenge for me to keep learning the Samoa and to learn the whakapena from the villages.
Every culture is different. We may share the same values, but the way we express them are different.
We should all be going back to Samoa to share our skills. Because it's not just going back to learn from Samoa and take from Samoa, it's also going back to give back to Samoa. I try to go to Samoa Victim Support Group House and we run workshops with the girls there. We go to Mapui Whangalele, which is the old people's home there. We perform for the old people there. Whatever we have, we just try and give it. And I do that with my own family. Whatever they need, I just give them what they need, because if it wasn't for my ainga in Samoa, I would have nowhere to go back to.
I honestly don't know how to answer that, because the first thing that comes to mind is Polyfest. I can speak for myself. When I think about the culture, automatically you think food, dance, song, and that's it. And then it's like, but there's so much more to our culture.
Deeper than skin colour, hidden behind a mask of white. Native blood surges from my soul. Part of a world I can never fully embrace. The real me, hidden. The legacy of a proud warrior people, crushed by the conquest of men white, drowned by alcohol and violence, robbed of language, land and knowledge, left with destruction and pain. I struggle for a place to belong, my cocoon of comfort and security, strangled by stereotypes and unrealistic standards, not brown enough to be one of them, bigotry and hate. I search for acceptance and authenticity. Either I am or I am not. On the outskirts looking in, fragmented, torn between imposter and real, trapped in a body white. The journey of becoming lifelong, identity ever changing, the search for the uniqueness of who I am, never ending.